We here at TheGamer feel like if we let you in on this little secret, you might start to love video games less. Okay, who are we kidding? That's never gonna happen. But do you remember when you were a kid and your parents told you to eat your veggies because they're good for you? Well, this information is gonna be similar, but we assure you no children were force-fed vegetables in the making of this video. Ew, broccoli. Did you know video games actually have some amazing health benefits? It's not going to replace exercise and eating healthy, but it's a start to getting on the right track. So pick up your controller and de-stress from your tough day. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with all our newest content. So without further ado, here are 8 scientific facts which prove video games are good for you. Pain relief and virtual reality. Who knew VR could be used for other things besides getting really creative in Minecraft and feeling like a literal video game god? Seriously, if you haven't seen the YouTube videos, you should check them out. It turns out virtual reality has some major health benefits as well. And it's Dr. Jeffrey Gold, an associate professor of anesthesiology and pediatrics, who noticed the astounding effects of this type of gaming for both children and adult patients. He had this to say about it. The focus is drawn into the game, not the pair or medical procedure, while the virtual reality experience engages visual and other senses. It actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because it's a method of distraction. Do you know how easily it is to become fully immersed and lost when you're playing with a sound system? It's especially beneficial with children. In fact, the use of video games and virtual reality as distractions for pain management in school-aged children had very promising results when increasing pain tolerance. This included studies where the children had to undergo painful procedures like cleansing wounds, cancer treatments, immunizations, and even burn care. If doctors could find a way to introduce virtual reality into hospitals all over the world, we're pretty sure the universe would be a much better place. Unfortunately, there still needs to be more studies conducted to see how beneficial these virtual reality distraction technologies would be over time for a patient. But we have to say, we're all for more video games, especially if it's going to be an aid as a healing factor and beneficial for children in the future. Increased memory capacity. Does anyone remember the funny word we used to laugh at in biology called the hippocampus? Okay, maybe that was just us. Back in our school days, there was this rap called the Brain Song for Kids. We recommend clicking the link on your screen to check it out right now. We're sure you'll have it stuck in your head as well. You're welcome for this new form of torture. Okay, so now I guess we can all move on with our lives. We don't want to complicate things too much because sometimes science uses big words to confuse us. But to make it easy, a few researchers decided to do a test. They first conducted a study with lab rats to see how the hippocampus was affected when they changed their environment. It turns out it actually enhanced their memory with each change. They also hypothesized when humans explore a vast and visually stimulating virtual environment, much the same things would happen. What was even more surprising was that those who favored 3D video games actually performed better when it came to recognition memory tasks. And after 2 weeks of training with Super Mario 3D World, those who took place in the study showed improvements in memory when it came to deciphering the levels and how to control the characters. They also found a greater improvement in hippocampus-associated cognition when video gamers were immersed in a 3D environment, but not so much when it came to a 2D game. So this proves it. If you want to become better at remembering things like our anniversaries and the birthdays of our significant others, we should probably pull out the Nintendo 3DS and replay Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, because science said so. PTSD relief. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects a pretty significant amount of people all over the world. In fact, it's estimated about 7.8% of Americans will experience it at some point in their lives, with women twice as likely as men to develop the disorder. But what if video games could be the solution to those affected by it? After all, it's all caused by significant psychological trauma, which then triggers visual memories, which can be both distressing and disruptive to an individual's daily life. One brilliant method to help people cope was to use a Tetris-based intervention. The researchers would trigger the patients with a traumatic memory reminder cue, and then let them play 20 minutes of Tetris to see what would happen. It turned out the game actually helped significantly within just a few minutes of playing. The participants included 71 patients from the emergency department of the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. 34 of them were men and 37 of the participants were women who had experienced or witnessed a vehicular accident. These events involved actual or threatened death or serious injury. Those who participated also reported having a history of severe mental illness and/or alcohol and drug dependency and suicidal thoughts. The study was then divided where half the individuals were asked to play Tetris, while the other half were not given a video game. It turned out the Tetris players had significantly less flashbacks when reflecting on a traumatic event than those who did not play a game. 62% of the participants who played Tetris had little to no flashbacks by the time the month-long study came to an end. It's official, Tetris calms down the brain. helps with dyslexia. Dyslexia is an important issue which needs to be addressed, but it's something not caught early enough. If children go on to struggle with this, it means they'll have trouble with reading comprehension, and spelling. Dyslexia also doesn't go away when those children get older. It's a lifelong condition. Some experts believe between 5 and 10% of children have it, but there's no clear number since it isn't always diagnosed. So how can video games help children with dyslexia read better? Well, there was a study conducted to see the effects of playing action games with stories, like Rayman Saving Rabbids, on dyslexic children. The results showed that children aged 7 to 13 became absorbed in the story and could read it much faster with no loss in accuracy. These results actually ended up being better than some of the traditional treatments. Most of these are old methods which are time-consuming and not as fun for the children, but when given a fast-paced game, these kids actually had an increased attention span and didn't become bored or easily distracted. It's funny to think about now, but games like Pokemon, Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy probably made us a better reader. What games do you think helped you improve your own reading skills as a kid? Let us know in the comment section below. Improves decision-making. When you're an adult, you start to realize that you'll always try to improve your decision-making skills if the opportunity presents itself. Seriously, we would probably have given up our vast collection of Nintendo games to be able to make better decisions. On second thought, we think we're gonna hang on to those because it turns out video games can actually improve your ability to make decisions. So gamers can rejoice in this spectacular news. Good decision on coming to TheGamer. It was discovered by cognitive scientists at the University of Rochester that those who played action video games were able to make the right decisions faster, and the researchers found other benefits as well, like a heightened sensitivity to the things going on around them. Outside of playing games, they found the players also improved in everyday activities like multitasking, driving, reading very small print, keeping track of people they know in a large crowd, and even navigating their way through unfamiliar towns. The test was done on people between the ages of 18 and 25 who were not ordinarily gamers. The two groups were split up between playing fast-paced action games like Call of Duty and slow-moving game like The Sims. Guess who was faster? If you guessed the ones who played the action video games, you were right. They ended up being 25% faster on average at answering questions correctly. The only thing The Sims made us realize is that deep down, we're some weird sociopaths who get enjoyment out of removing pool ladders and taking out doors so they can't escape. Don't give us that look. We know you're not completely innocent. Who hasn't locked a sim in a closet? Surgeons who game are better at their job. Being a surgeon is no easy task, but it's amazing how far technology has come to make surgery less intrusive and more easily done for patients. It also turns out surgeons who have spent some time playing video games actually have an upper hand when it comes to their jobs. Researchers discovered doctors who spent a minimum of 3 hours a week playing video games ended up making 30% fewer mistakes during a laparoscopic surgery and even performed the task 27% faster than those surgeons who had not played the video games. Pretty fascinating stuff, especially when there are so many naysayers out there who want us to believe video games will basically melt our brains and turn us into violent individuals. The laparoscopic surgery uses a tiny camera and instruments which are controlled by joysticks outside the body. It can also be performed on any part of the body from the appendix to the gallbladder. The surgery is minimally intrusive and involves making tiny incisions and then inserting a mini video camera which sends images to an external video screen. The surgical tools are controlled by the surgeon who is watching the screen and can even be practiced by using video simulations. Technology has come a long way, and one experienced surgeon by the name of Dr. James Rosser had this to say about his video game practice. "I use the same hand-eye coordination to play video games as I use for surgery." The surgeon becomes so interested in using video games to practice in the medical field, he developed a course called Top Gun. The surgical trainees have to warm up their coordination, agility, and accuracy with a video game before they enter the operating room. They've discovered this type of practice has actually helped newer trainees become more confident in their abilities because, as the age-old saying goes, practice makes perfect. Treats depression. Who are we to say a video game session is better than counseling? If you don't believe us, well, it turns out it might actually be true. At least, for some of us it might be. Researchers from the University of Auckland in New Zealand published a new finding with results from a study where they compared how a video game designed to treat depression in teens may be more beneficial than face-to-face counseling. Depression is a serious issue many teens have to deal with, and it can range from mild to moderate depression. Sometimes teens don't get enough help because there's lack of services, they're isolated from any mental health services, or they're just embarrassed to admit they need help. So Sparks was created to help teens feel less self-conscious about getting help for depression. It's a video game developed by the University of Auckland in partnership with Media Interactive, and and it's a fantasy role-playing game designed to teach people suffering with depression different ways to manage their condition better. It simulates various life situations and the emotions which come with them to help players learn how to react or to help overcome different challenges. The game was basically created because typical treatments weren't really working as effectively as they should be. Take, for example, the treatment for mild to moderate depression, which can vary from using a watchful waiting method, where people will monitor the person's mood and support them so their symptoms will hopefully subside. It doesn't sound very helpful, but there's also options for one-on-one or group-based counseling. One of the creators also discussed how public health-funded services don't usually see cases of people with moderate depression, but there could be a number of reasons for this. In fact, it's estimated up to 80% of young people with depression may never receive any treatment and instead choose to suffer silently. The study conducted on teens who use sparks to treat depression were very promising, and it may get more young people to learn ways to cope with their depression. The results published showed the game was a better method and even seemed to reduce symptoms of depression more than typical treatments. So, here's to hoping Sparks will be released worldwide when it's currently only available in New Zealand. Gamers are more likely to be lucid dreamers. It makes sense to us that people who play video games will be more likely to be lucid dreamers. A lucid dream is one where the dreamer is aware of dreaming and, during the dream, the person is able to control the characters, narrative, and sometimes even the environment. You would be surprised, but there are plenty of books which can help you learn how to control your own dreams. There are even YouTube video tutorials on the subject. Or just watch Inception. Lucid dreaming isn't a new phenomenon. In fact, there are references in our ancient history, and one example was from ancient Greek writing, where the philosopher Aristotle wrote, "Often when one is asleep, there is something in consciousness which declares that what then presents itself is but a dream." But we can use video games to our advantage today, because it was discovered if we play video games before going to sleep, it may give us an unusual level of awareness and control of our dreams. And using this allows people the ability to shape an alternate reality, which may help fight mental trauma and even nightmares for some people. One psychologist became fascinated in studying video games after she bought her son a Super Nintendo in the 1990s, but she had previously only studied lucid dreaming. Her name is Jane Gackenbach, and she's a psychologist at Grant MacEwan University in Canada. Her study revealed interesting parallels between lucid dreaming and video games. She discovered they both seemed to have better spatial skills and were less prone to motion sickness. They were also able to focus or concentrate on something for a long period of time. It's definitely an interesting thing to note since lucid dreaming uses things like meditation, but playing a video game can be a just as useful lucidity training tool. So if you want a peaceful night's sleep, you can pick up your controller tonight before you go to bed. We hope we've given you enough reason to play video games today. Have you noticed any positive health benefits from gaming? Tell us about them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy all the healthy benefits of gaming today and every day. Bye-bye!